Hello. Oh, it works. Wow, it's a really long time to stand there for 6 minutes looking at everybody. Hi, I am John Fancy. I'm a program manager for Microsoft. I work in Redmond, originally from the UK, and I'm here today to talk in the next 20 minutes, if I can fit it all in, about Logic Apps and it's kind of data integration focus for Logic Apps. So something a bit different to what I normally present about. So I'm going to just show a few slides just to give a little bit of context for this. But just to start off, who here is familiar with Logic Apps, is already using it, running in production? So not too many people, that's good. So the first couple of slides probably will be useful. Does everybody know what Logic Apps can do? No, awesome, you're just hanging out, right? So Logic Apps is our Azure service for doing integration. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's everything from traditional workflow where you may have elements of user interaction where maybe you want to send data and wait for a response to come back over email or some other channel. But it's also things like business process orchestration and also things like data integration, which is what I'm going to talk about here. How do I get data out of one system, maybe do some work on it, traditional kind of EDL type workloads, as well as messaging type synchronization patterns. How do I implement that kind of stuff on top of Logic Apps? So Logic Apps comes with nearly 180 connectors now. Just a few kind of logos on the right-hand side, but the data-oriented ones sort of break down into a number of different categories. We have database connectors, things like SQL Server, both on-premises and in Azure. Oracle DB, again, you can connect to Oracle on-premises as well using our on-premises data gateway, which is a technology that you install on your own data center and allows us to connect to that and be able to exchange data to and from systems on-premises. Also things like MySQL, Postgres, Teradata, and a whole bunch of others. I've got the next slide in a minute, you'll see the full list. Then we have things like messaging. So how do I move more of an event-driven type approach? We have a new event grid connector that we just shipped a few weeks ago. We also have Service Bus, Event Hub, and IBM MQ series as well. So if you have MQ and you want to use message-based integration between different systems, you can do that too. And then we have some data services in Azure, which you also have connectivity to. The primary ones are Power BI, if you want to push data to Power BI. We can also push data to Long Analytics, so Operations Management Suite. And we can also push data to Azure Data Lake as well. And then there's application kind of centric data integration. Things like Office 365, Dynamics 365, Salesforce.com. All different channels to get data in and out of your enterprise and your integration scenarios, both being able to trigger when something happens, when something changes in one of those applications or databases, and make something happen downstream and push that data to one or more other systems. And then there's this kind of lumpy data, so the bucket of other things, everything from OneDrive and Dropbox and Google Drive, through to things like Azure Blob, Azure Storage Tables, and other artifacts. So a very rich set of connectivity. And just to sort of show you what this looks like, here's the full list, which is just going to scroll by as I keep talking, broken down into kind of SaaS applications. So we have a very API-centric view of the world from Logic Apps. So if you have an existing API, it's easy to consume that from a Logic App. You can wrap that in something called Swagger, an open API definition. Or you may have other types of APIs on premises as well, connect to those through API management, which we have integration with as well. So just a whole bunch of stuff. Over 160 connectors. I think I said it's nearly 180 now. If there's a connector you're particularly interested in, a data source you particularly need to connect to, then just go to this URL and let us know. We're constantly prioritizing our backlog of connectors, and we try to ship new connectors every month. Okay, so what I'm going to focus on here is just a few common data patterns before I get into the demos, and I've got 3 different demos I'm going to show. I've got one around data synchronization. In this example, I'm going to use Dynamics and take the example when something interesting happens in Dynamics, I want to do something with that data. And in this case, I'm actually going to drop that data to my on-premises file system because we have this hybrid connectivity using our on-premises data gateway. The second one is I'm going to do an ETL type workload. It's not quite ETL, but what it's going to do is take data from one system, do some transformation on that. I'm going to convert it to XML from JSON and then drop that into another system, in that case SQL Server. And I'm bridging, I've got SQL Server running in the cloud and I've got SQL Server running on my local machine here as well, and you'll see how that works. And then the third one is around messaging, and for this I'm going to use a batching pattern. So a piece of a feature we shipped relatively recently, we just improved on it last week, is our batching capabilities in Logic Apps. So this gives you the capability of actually being able to group messages up, or in fact arbitrary lumps of data up, and process them on a batch. So maybe you want to process every 10 items, every 1,000 items. And the feature we just shipped literally yesterday is being able to do it on a schedule as well. So if you want to batch them up and process them in hundreds, you can do that. But if you want to make sure that you always process whatever's in that batch at least every hour or every 20 minutes, you can do that too. And it'll release the batch on that time schedule and then give you all of the items in that batch, all those messages, all those data items that you collected up, and let you then push that to one of the downstream connectors that we have. Okay, so 5 minutes in, right. So here's the first one. This is Logic Apps. It's you just go to the Azure portal and you can just create a new Logic app. Let's get rid of this. So the designer, you can see, is just based in a web browser. We also have Visual Studio integration for this, so you can do it either way. It's the same designer embedded in Visual Studio. And that's handy if you want to do things like source code control. You can check in the template that sits behind this graphical view into VSTS or something else and manage the full deployment lifecycle of this. So in this case, what I've got this connector here. Now this is called a trigger because this is going to react to an event. In this case, when a new record is created or updated in Dynamics 365. And the next thing it's going to do is going to convert that to XML, actually, because what I'm going to get back is a lump of JSON out of Dynamics, and I'm going to then do a conversion of that to XML, and I'm then going to send that to the on-premises, to my on-premises file system, again running on my local machine here, which is going to just drop a file with whatever data was updated from Dynamics. I might have to refresh this because it's not loading correctly. While it's mulling that over, let's pop over to Dynamics. So here I've got Dynamics 365. I've got a list of accounts. So I'm going to create a new account. I'm just going to create a new account. Wow, is everybody on the Wi-Fi? Let's see how this goes. Just going to create a new account, and when I create this new account, you'll see what happens to the Logic app. A new instance of the Logic app will be created and take the data that it received in that trigger, and then I can do whatever I like with it. No Wi-Fi. I haven't done a Cat 5 connect. Yeah.
You're wireless, yeah. Depending on how many people are on the network, it may be slow.
Yeah, it's non-existent. Wow. Okay, sorry about this, folks. Let's see if this gets any quicker. Okay. Okay, seems to be moving. Right, okay. So I'm in Dynamics here. I'm going to create a new account, so I just need to give this thing an account. I don't know, let's call it Woodgrove Bank. Let's use one of our famous companies. And I'm just going to save that down because I don't really have to fill in all the information associated with this. I just want to trigger that Logic app so I can see what's going on. So you can see in my Logic app, I've got the organization that maps onto my Dynamics 365 account, and then I'm saying, you know, what am I interested in? I'm interested in the entities, a particular set of entities, in this case, the account entities. So every time I create a new account in Dynamics, it's going to trigger my Logic app. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that data, convert it to XML. We have something called an integration account, which lets me provide an XSLT-based map, so I can do very complex transformation. We also have a few other things I can do, like I can do things like compose, so I can actually create a JSON message from another JSON message, and I'll just quickly show you how this works. The way this works, I can pick the input values from other steps in my Logic app, so that I can very simply sort of create a new message and say, you know, hello, pick, oops, I didn't want that one, I can pick the account name. And the output of this is just a simple JSON object. When I want to do things more complex, and obviously I can get into XML, I can get into other types of things. I can call Azure functions if I want to do some code to do some work. If this object's massive and I want to do other kind of transformation work on it. But very simply, I can create new messages in Logic Apps just as easily as working with existing data. And I said the final step is I'm going to write this to my on-premises file system. And it's already run, as you can see. And when I look at this, I just click on this. This is my C drive, right, my CRM folder. It's just got a lump of XML that it took from Dynamics. And I can see that when that ran, and look at the run history of this thing, when I refresh, ran at 19 minutes past 2, open it up, and you can actually see the steps, the path that it took, as well as the data flow through my Logic app. So I can see the Dynamics connector triggered. I can open this up and I can see all the data that was received in the body here. As I say, a big lump of data. I've not got too much interesting stuff in there. It's all null because I didn't bother entering all of that contact information. I can then see what happened when it went into my transform action, and then finally see what happened when it called create file and used the data gateway to write that file to my local file system. Okay, let's look at another one. 9 minutes to go. So here I've got a sort of aggregation type pattern. Very common scenario is I want to be able to get data from different systems, and I want to kind of aggregate all that data together and then send it on somewhere else. This is a sort of simple example of this, where in this case, I'm actually triggering off of SQL Server. So this is SQL in Azure. So every time it's watching this customer table in Azure, and every single time it sees a new customer being added to SQL, it's going to trigger this Logic app. In this case, it's then going to create that as an account in Dynamics, that you just saw there. Because I kind of want to mash this up a bit, I'm then going to go to SQL Server on-premises and execute a stored procedure. This stored procedure is going to do a lookup of the customer, so you can see, if I can just drop down, you can see I've got a couple of stored procedures there. I'm going to call that stored proc on-prem, retrieve the data back, and then I've got a condition here, because based on the return code from that sproc, it determines whether it's a new customer or not, whether it's in that on-prem database or not, or just in my cloud one. And if it's just in my cloud SQL database, it's then going to do an insert row. And again, you can see how this mapping works. Oops, you can see how this mapping works, where I provide all these different fields, the city, street, zip code, as well as the account name that I got from the beginning of this when it triggered off of that SQL database. Again, this is this is where the logic of Logic Apps comes in, because I have a condition and I can say, if the return code is equal to 0, it means it doesn't exist. And then I go down the left-hand branch when it's true, do a bunch of stuff. I could add more actions if I wanted to, and show you the sort of rich set of connectors that we've got that you saw in my slide. This list kind of goes on and on. I could filter this down and look for Oracle. Oops. And maybe push it to another database as well. The sky's the limit when it comes to this sort of thing. But in this case, all I need to do is trigger this. So I'm going to go to Management Studio, and let's just have a look. It's not connected, so let's just fix that. Okay, so this is my on-prem database. So you see there's just one customer in there right now. This is my Azure one. Ooh, that's not good. Hang on a second. It's trouble when you shut this thing down, it forgets everything. Right. Yeah. Okay, just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so you don't all see my password. Let's come back again. I know you can't see anything right now. No. Back again. I knew 20 minutes would be tight, right. So, this is my Azure database. Let's just select Contoso orders, execute this. See, I have a couple of customers in there. I'm going to add another one. So I'm going to add this litware company here, and just insert that. That's then hopefully going to trigger my Logic app. Another thing I can do is I can just run this right here. And it'll just run that trigger immediately. So it immediately makes it check whether there's any new data from my SQL database. And if there is, I should see all the steps run, doing the same thing, but this time in real time, showing each one of these steps executing. You see it goes all the way down the path, creates a new record in Dynamics, calls the store procedure on premises to check whether the record exists. You can see that it doesn't because it goes down this left-hand branch. It says, is it true? And then it inserts all that data into my SQL database on-prem. So if I kind of come back here, I should see if I refresh this guy that I now have litware as a company as well. And if I go over to Dynamics and shut this down, I think I've probably got two of these because I already had a litware there. Yeah, you see I've got a few that I ran earlier. So I've got a few in there that have been created from the Logic apps that I've been running. So just a nice way of being able to aggregate data and connect to different systems. Okay, everybody following along? So, third one. I mentioned Service Bus, and that's a very common pattern to use Service Bus to sort of take messages from a queue or use topics and subscriptions for pub subtype patterns. But batching is something is also very common in terms of patterns. So I'm going to focus on that one here. We have a number of other sessions later this week where we'll go into Service Bus specifically and Event Grid as the sort of new serverless component of our sort of story as well in these other sessions. I've got some links on that in the slide in a couple of minutes. So what I have here is I need two Logic apps for this. So I have one Logic app which is triggering on a batch. That's what that first step does. I have to specify the release criteria for the batch. So I give it a name, I just called it Orlando, and I said every 5 messages, I want you to trigger this Logic app. But I can also, the feature I was just talking about, I can do schedule-based as well, and I can say, on an interval and say, every hour as well, I could trigger this as well and say, every hour. And then when it releases that batch and those 5 messages, I get an array back of the 5 messages. So I can have a for each here and spin over all of those. And then I'm just inserting them into another SQL database. In this case, it's my orders database. So let's just see what state that's in. Okay. Let's have a look. And run this. Okay, wrong database. I think I just connected to the wrong one. Let's come back to that in a second. So that's one Logic app. I then need some way of actually batching these messages up. And for that, I have another Logic app called the batch sender. Now I could have any number of Logic apps all sending to the same batch. And we even have batch partitions, so you can actually divide the items up in a batch by a key. Any arbitrary value you want to specify, and then every single time it hits the number of count of the items with that given key in that batch, it'll trigger the Logic app as well. So if I open up the batch sender, you'll see this is very simple how this works. If it opens up. Let's try connecting to my database first. Okay. Sorry, I'm jumping around in the interest of time. So in my batch sender, I have an HTTP trigger. So this gives me an HTTP endpoint, so I can just call this with an HTTP payload. And in this case, I'm going to use Postman and just send this order in. You see, so I'm asking for 5 widgets, giving it a price and a date. And when I'll just run this a few times, and it'll run my Logic app a few times. It says order received, order received. So if I do this 5 times, and pop back here, you can see I then have sent to batch, and all it's doing is taking the HTTP posted in content and sending it to batch. So if I go back to the first Logic app, the batch receiver, it should then trigger on those 5 messages. Give it a few seconds. 229, it's running now. Trigger on those messages and write that to my SQL database. can see it's already done it. Maybe I won't go into SQL this time, but if I open this up, you can see because this is inside a for each loop, I can actually go over each iteration of the loop and look at the data that it was inserting into my SQL database. Just as soon as this Wi-Fi cooperates, it was going so well. Right. So you can see that, I have this, each widget, and if I come up here, I can actually iterate over, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and look at the data items, and it was the same every time because I just used Postman to submit them. So, another flexible pattern of being able to move data around using Logic Apps. Okay, I'm at time, so I'm just going to pop back here and just sort of let this draw up. A whole bunch of other connectors that we have for Logic Apps, cognitive services, that being able to do things like facial recognition, optical character recognition, so taking a document and being able to recognize all the data from that document and process that. I'll be showing you an example of that on Thursday. Service bus, API management integration, so you can turn a Logic App into an API, and you can take APIs from API management and consume those directly from a Logic App as well. Even connectivity to BizTalk server on premises is possible. We have a connector for that as well, so if you're using BizTalk, you can see your BizTalk environment from a Logic App, again using the magic of our data gateway, sees all the endpoints there, and you can just send messages directly to BizTalk. So a few resources. I'll just leave this up for a second or so. Again, I think these slides should have been uploaded, so for those of you who want to grab a quick picture. And then the final thing I'll leave you with is the other sessions that we have this week. So here, we have 5 other sessions, I think. We've got a serverless platform overview, which covers Logic Apps, Azure Functions, and Event Grid. That's at 4 o'clock today. Then tomorrow we have Azure API Management, where we'll do a deeper dive on what API Management can do. Then I'm presenting again on Thursday, Enterprise Integrations. This is going to cover a whole bunch of different things, like building bots using Logic Apps and a lot of other scenarios. Some of the new features we just shipped. Serverless business applications also on Thursday, and then finally a deep dive on Logic Apps on Friday morning. Okay, thank you. I think I'm at time. So if there's any questions, just feel free to step up. You want me to go back? Yeah, sure.